Hello, dear Chess24 members. You're welcome to the next episode of Late Friday Night Banter Blitz. So, you can probably notice shadows behind my eyes, and these shadows are not only because of non-professional lighting in my room, but also because of a new life that started yesterday. My wife and my newborn son finally came back from the hospital. And well, the first night was just nice. I guess you understand what I mean. So, let me know the state of the sound and the picture. As usual. So, if everything goes right or not good, just let me know it in the chat, right? And we continue with playing some chess. There are a lot of different challenges already. So, I will definitely try to play most of them, but it's not that simple, you know. Okay. So, some comments are arriving. It's okay. So, let's continue with playing chess. So, by the way, I will be basically happy to every half a point I will score today. All right. And wow, there are so many different challenges. Well, I will start with the Shadow Mate because it was the very first, right? I think it's fair. Okay. So I'm playing black, okay, and waiting for the first move. I guess it will be something like d4, but it could be e4 as well. e4. Well. Let's answer with the good old e5. Knight f3, knight c6, d4. Okay, Scotch. So the main line or like 4 knights. Knight c3 now. That is the question. An interesting one. Okay, looks like the main line. So e5. Oh no, not e5 but bishop d3. Well, probably it's also playable. Okay, so what to do now? Just to play d5? I think it's good. It is also possible probably just to play queen e7. But okay, let's play d5. I can't see anything wrong with this. ed5, cd5, I just have a pawn in the center. White had nothing in the center, except for probably a normal control of central squares, which is also good. Duke Crusher says, hi Andre, nice top. Yeah, it's a home sweet home edition today. Okay, castles, and now bishop can go to e6, so probably I have a chance to put my bishop on d6 immediately. Let's try it. But maybe starting with c6 move was a bit more accurate, because now I think white has a chance to play bishop b5 check. Rook e1, yeah. Bishop goes to e6, bishop b5 now goes to d7. Looks a bit ugly, but I think it's still playable. So let's try bishop e6. Kramnik student says looks like a flag. Well, it's not a flag. Yeah. Knight to d7. I think this move is still playable. But let's calculate. Knight e7, bishop goes to c6, attacking my rook. Rook b8, bishop takes d5. Well, this looks really ugly. So maybe king to e7. This is still ugly. A lot of ugly possibilities here. So maybe king f8. Yeah, let's play king f8. White definitely outplayed me here. So Kramnik student says no wonder Andre is seeing stars behind his eyes. Yeah, that's true. Very logical. And chess is the game for the guys who appreciate logic, right? So currently you have great chances to become #1 in the world. So knight c3, c5. I think it's possible to play. d4 is also playable. I don't know which one will be good here. Or rook to b8. Let's start with the rook b8. It gets hard from h10 onwards. Nah, that's true. So I just activated my rook. My king looks very bad, of course, on f8. Its position is safe, but it breaks the connection between my heavy pieces. That is the main drawback of having the king like this. Bishop goes f1. A bit passive, but, well, why not, after all? You know, maybe I have the time for something like h6, then king g8 and king h7 even. Yeah, anyway, it looks like a good idea to prevent bishop to g5, right? Because it is the active and natural square for the bishop in such a position, having this pawn structure. So h6 just prevents bishop g5. b3. Well, also logical, because now white wants to develop the bishop right and protects the pawn on the b file. But this weakens diagonal a5 e1 a bit. So do I have something connected to... Well, I have something like bishop h2 I didn't consider. So bishop takes h2, king h2, knight g4. If king goes back to g1 and queen h4, looks just devastating. Oh no, there is bishop f4. Okay, let's forget about it. Or queen takes f2 there, right? Oh, come on. So bishop h2, king h2, knight g4, king g1, queen h4. Looks pretty much devastating. Okay. What about king g3 after knight g4? King g3, then what? I'm not sure. This looks a bit premature. All this, I mean. So maybe it's better for me to do something else. I don't know, bishop b4, followed by d4. Looks dry. Okay, knight g4 just immediately attacking something there. Yeah, g3 will be forced more or less, and then maybe queen f6 or something. Yeah, knight g4 looks very interesting now. Are you a football fan, Andre? Asks Miktal. Not really. Okay, this wins for black. Check and takes on f2. Yeah. So I decided not to sacrifice anything and just played knight g4 because this also looks very cool. g3, of course, should have been played instead of h3. And now something like queen f6 would have been very good, attacking f2 and knight on c3 at the same time, right? How to protect both? Queen to d2, but this looks just very bad. I don't know, bishop c5 looks great, bishop b4, bishop e5, knight to e5. There are a lot of different moves that look just sort of winning on the spot. h5, h4 is a good idea here. I know, knight takes f2, just deflecting the queen from the knight, also looks pretty cool. So there are a lot of different possibilities. So I think that actually somewhere here it was necessary to play kind of h3 maybe. So h3 stops black from playing anything connected with this bishop h2 or knight g4 stuff. This prepares a good queen f3 move, and it just suits all white's plans. And it's not necessarily that knight is needed on c3 here. So white can use the position of the knight still on b1 by playing c4 at some point. So let's say when queen goes to f3, c4 may become very annoying for black. So h3 somewhere here, I would just recommend. And for black, it was better, of course, not to play this risky. So after cd5 and castling, I think it was necessary to play something like c6, preventing this bishop b5. And this leaves black with normal playable position, I think. Okay, so let's continue. The next Arenkmish accept. Oops, my board. Yeah, it's back, and I play with white. The guy from USA, and we have already played once. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. Ruy Lopez. Okay, let's play this exchanged variation. And of course, I don't remember what happened in our first game in the history, but probably it was the same, unless I played with black pieces. I don't remember. So bishop d6, one of possible moves, of course. And one of the plans for white here is just to attack e5 somehow. So d3 is a move. d4 is also an interesting try. Not quite sure what is the best move here, but let's try d4, a bit more active. Bishop g4. So, takes on e5. Bishop probably will take on f3. Queen f3, but this favors white, I believe. Right, because white manages just to get rid of black's bishop's pair. Yeah, that is nice. So now I simply have this position with a better pawn structure, because black has weaknesses on the queen side, like double pawns, I mean drawbacks in the pawn structure, serious one. Okay, so how to use all these advantages? First of all, it's possible to occupy the d file, I guess. So rook goes to d1, attacking the queen. Queen goes to f6. Oh well. What is next? Queen to b3, attacking b7? Is it possible to play? I think, yeah, it should be good. But then bishop d4? Okay, bishop d4, I think it's not that dangerous. So bishop b3 is possible there. Yeah, so let's put the queen on b3. That's just all right, I think. But maybe rook d1 wasn't the best option. Maybe immediate queen b3, or simply knight c3, or just, yeah, knight c3 was probably a move. Oh well, b5. This creates some additional possibilities for me to undermine the pawns at some point, but at the moment I have to focus on finishing the development somehow. So knight to d2, preparing just knight to f3, challenging that bishop could be a good idea for me. Yeah, let's play knight to d2. A bit strange, I know, but I think after occupying f3, my position will be very safe on the king side. So I'll prevent everything related to bishop h2 or just attacking h2 square somehow. And yeah, I'll also cover this f file, and I think I will just enjoy a better position. Yeah, so knight f3, exactly here. I noticed that many guys in chat just recommended the same knight e2, knight f3. Very nice. So it looks like, yeah, I'm doing something really natural. Bishop f4. Now, can I just play e5? That is an interesting question. Yeah, e5 looks very interesting. But probably black will just ignore it and play queen f5 or something. I will take that on f4 and maybe even e6. Yeah, it looks just, again, very, very natural. So we shouldn't forget that black's king is still in the center. And it might be risky. So what black will do now? Will black take on e5 or just go away with the queen somewhere, I don't know, h6 or f5? In both cases, I think white has at least the initiative. Okay, my opponent started to think. Yeah, I'll take the bishop. There was also a suggestion just to play rook d4 in chat. But I think that, yeah, rook d4 is a good move, but I guess e6 should be even better. I just have a feeling that should be very good. Probably rook d4 was better. I don't know. Well, knight d5. Rook takes d5, cd5, queen d5, castle's short. And, well, position is still playable, right? Right. Okay, e takes f7 check. Queen takes f7, knight to e5. Looks pretty cool. Let's try it. So king takes. Well, okay. I'm not against. Let it be king to take on f7. And now I think knight d4 should be okay. Just attack in c6. And it doesn't look like black has a good defense. So I should be winning. I should be winning at least a pawn. Yeah, very good position for white, and the time is okay. I mean, the time on the clock. So I should be winning. I don't know, rook to f8, and then I just take on c6, and it's not possible to protect the knight d5. If king goes away somewhere here, I don't imagine a good square, to be honest. So if queen protects c6, which is probably the only playable move, I mean something like queen f6 or queen d6, queen f6 probably, a bit more safe. I just take on c6 anyway. And then I'll take on d5 with the rook, or maybe with the queen. In both cases I will have extra material and good position, so should be just winning. Rook d8 gives me a chance to take on c6 with the tempo. So now rook on d8 is heading in addition to knight d5. Yeah, it's lost, of course. So definitely this bishop d6 followed by bishop g4 is not good. I mean, bishop d6 is definitely playable, but bishop g4 then looks like a positional concession. So instead of that, it's probably better to take on d4. But in this case, I think that it's better not to play bishop d6. So It's better to protect the pawn with the f6 move because, well, probably you will need the bishop on d6, probably not. All right. So here after bishop d6, d4, ed4, I have queen d4 attacking g7. So I have additional options. I have additional possibilities to attack because white has a slightly better situation with the development, right? So there is the idea of playing e5, rook to d1, and so on. So everything became very good after this bishop d6, and bishop g4 was just an additional concession because now after d5 bishop f3 was forced, otherwise I have just an extra pawn, right? And after bishop takes e5, well, there is still a problem with the development for black, but what is more important, that long-term white's position is much better. So I have a much better pawn structure. So I have 4 against 3 on the king side. You have the same quality on the queen side, but the same quantity, right? I said, or no? What I mean, yeah, the same quantity, but the quality is different. So these pawns are doubled, so you have great problems with creating a passed pawn on the queen side. So long-term white's position is definitely better. It is the problem for the whole exchange, the variation of Ruy Lopez. But in majority of cases, black has a bishop's pair to compensate this drawback. Here, black has no bishop's pair anymore, and this means white is simply better. Even without playing for, I don't know, grabbing the initiative and trying to punish black for his poor development and so on. So long-term white is much better. Okay. Let's continue. So Alekhine is the next, so I accept. And black. It might be really annoying. Yeah, so when Alekhine plays with white, yeah, usually I have problems. But okay. G3. Well. So, and 3 minutes. Come on, again, the same trick. I don't pay attention that Alekhine tries to just to make this with me every time. CD5. Okay, queen d5, knight f3, then what? Knight c6, attacking d4. It's playable, but I think e takes d5 should be better. Yeah, just having this Carlsbad pawn structure. I do believe black is doing fine here. So with the bishop on g2, this pawn structure is not very dangerous for black in general. Okay, let's put the knight on the central square. Let's go away with the bishop. Okay, so to take on c5, or not to take on c5. Well, let's take on c5 and play a4 maybe. And this looks very good. So now c5 becomes the object of attack. And yeah, I can attack it immediately. And rook can join this attack as well from a5 if necessary. But I think it's not really... Well, b4 is probably the only way for white to protect this pawn at the moment. It looks like for some time white manages to protect this weakness. Did I have anything more clear than knight d7? I don't know. Well, let's take. Let's play this position. Okay, there are a lot of opportunities, but I think it makes sense for me to prevent white's e4. Just to keep this bishop g2 out of play. a4, probably with the idea of a5. Okay. f3. Bishop goes to e6. If knight d4, then I will keep attacking c5 pawn, right? So queen a5, let's say. Just attacking c5. Yeah, and now knight to d7. And can I play just queen b4? I'm curious. But no, it looks a bit dangerous. So let's put it on a7. Also not a bad position. Also not a bad position for queen. Still attacking c5. Oh. Oh. My goodness. I thought I've blundered completely because my knight on d7 is hanging, but white's knight on b3 is also hanging. Thanks God. Yeah. Which means that, well, I managed to occupy a good position with the bishop, right? Yeah, I like my position. Okay. One of a sudden, I have the advantage on the clock. It's really surprising, because usually the situation is the opposite. And a5 is still a weakness, right? So let's attack it several times. Is it the time to activate the king somehow? Maybe. Blunder. One more. One more. And it's lost. Oops, rook b1 was possible immediately. Okay. Yeah, checkmate finally. Okay, so actually a messy game, but well, it's your fault, Alekhine, because you challenged me with 3 minutes, right? That's why it was messy. And actually, where was your mistake? I think, first of all, the whole approach is not very promising for white. I mean, g3 in a combination was taken on d5. After that, I think black simply has no problems. So here, if you play this, I think it's better to try to sacrifice the pawn c4 somehow, but then to have this active bishop along diagonal h1, a8, just like in Catalan, I mean. So maybe a3 deserves attention here, just to start with. And then, yeah, you should be ready to sacrifice the pawn. So after cd5, ed5, I think black is just completely okay. But then the order of moves matters. So after bishop g2, c6, knight f3, well, h6 is okay. Castles, but here I think that black has to, simply has to play a5. Because after rook e8, it was possible just to ask me about the bishop b4, I mean with the help of a3, because I definitely don't want to take on c3 so that I have to go away with the bishop, after which you can play b4. So at least you can come up with this minority attack plan, right, immediately. So that's after castling a5 was more accurate move, maybe even prior to playing anything like h6. So a5 was better for black, I don't know. But I think that white could have played this a3, that was promising. And here, after I managed to prevent this immediate b4, and also after occupying this e4, I think I'm just completely alright. So it is equal at very least. That's my idea. And after this, I actually should be better, right? Because of this c5 pawn. So it is definitely a weakness, not a strength. Of course, if white manages to play b4 at some point and then to have this great blockading position with the knight in d4, with the perspective of playing e4 at some point, yeah, white will be better. But the problem is that I have this intermediate a4 and white has nothing. Okay, let's continue with 5-minute games. Yeah. So butterfly in the next challenger and 5-minute game. Everything is all right with the conditions, so let's play. Why not to play, right? And I'm playing with black again. So butterfly, you're welcome to start. And well, maybe it will be again the Gambit. Something like knight c3. Yes, again the same. But the rating of butterfly increased, so maybe he prepared something in this line. Knight takes f3 and what? So I've played c6 or something many times here, just trying to come up with sort of Karo-Kann pattern, but with the extra pawn, right? So let's try to play the same this time. I saw it like the recommendation somewhere. I don't remember in which book or something. Bishop g4 leads to bishop takes f7 check. And well, knight e5 fork takes g4. White is good. So probably bishop to f5 is a better place. And e6. Protecting everything. So we have definitely Karo-Kann pawn structure. The difference is that black has an extra pawn and black is down the development, which of course gives white good counter chances. Okay, so what is hanging here? Knight takes f7 followed by rook takes f5 is probably a threat, tactical trick. So should I play bishop g6 to prevent it, or maybe I have something better instead? I don't really know, but okay, let's put the bishop on g6. It looks safe, at least. Knight e2 followed by knight f4 will be played. Okay. So should I prepare the bishop? Should I prepare for this, or just keep developing my pieces somehow? I don't know. Bishop to d6, knight goes to f4, and then there is already a threat of taking on e6 at some point. Queen to a5 looks interesting here, but it doesn't look like the best move, of course. So knight to d7 followed by knight d5, or knight d5 immediately here. Yeah, knight d5 immediately here looks interesting, but then knight f4 might be played anyway. Well, position is not that easy, so let's play knight to d7. My point here is that maybe I can prepare castling long. The sacrifice on e6, of course, might be annoying, but well, white will have only one pawn to compensate the missing material, because we shouldn't forget white already sacrificed a pawn. And maybe I will be happy enough just to protect my king. I'm not sure that it will be very, very dangerous. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just wrong and white is already winning. I don't know. Where to put my queen first of all? d7. So rook to e1 there, or what? So rook to e1 is common, so probably it is the most annoying move. The most dangerous idea. So probably I will have to save my king somewhere on g8 after that. So queen d7, then bishop e7, knight takes g7, king goes somewhere to g8. Yeah, it hurts a bit, but I still think that d7 is simply the best square for my queen. Here it protects light squares somehow. So bishop e7, knight g7, king f8, check, and e6, the king goes to g8 now. Should be okay, more or less. Yeah, it's annoying, but, well, it's playable. I have an extra minor piece after all. And almost all my pieces are developed here. So my only problem will be that my king will look ugly, as well as my rook and h8, but I do believe it's just a temporary stuff. Yeah. So now my next task is just to get rid of this knight g5, maybe with the help of h6, simply. Maybe not. Maybe I will start with something like rook e8, then bishop d6, so we will see how white will play first of all. Okay, how many pawns white has for the minor piece? 2 pawns. Okay, that is not too much. Now let's put the rook on e8. Kramnik student says he's not cheating. Who's cheating, guys? Me or my opponent? An interesting question. Thinking of the position, I just missed a lot of chat. Just let me know. Who's cheating? Okay, knight f4 with the idea of knight g6. Can I just play queen g4 here? Oh, there is a queen b3 check. Might be dangerous. Might be dangerous, might be not. Okay, bishop to d6 also looks like an interesting way just to simplify position a bit. Yeah, let's try it. But it feels like the mistake. Yeah, it feels like a mistake. Oh, let's take it. I mean, I'm not against to exchange some pieces, so let's try it. Just to simplify a position, I mean. If knight takes d5, I can even take with the pawn, I think. Stabilizing the pawn structure. And fighting for e4 square. That should be fine for black. But my time is the problem. The time is the big problem. Queen to e6, let's say. I don't know. King to g7. Yeah, knight takes g6. That was wrong for me. Yeah, everything is completely wrong here. Okay, 30 seconds. I have to be fast first of all. The rest is not that important. Okay. My gosh. Yeah, that is really annoying to play with this time on the clock. 10 seconds only. God, 5 seconds. Oh, rook f1. My God. Yeah, rook f1 next move. Yeah, just in time. Oh my goodness. Yeah, what a game. What a game. Come on. Whew. Yeah, that was interesting. Of course, I was entirely winning at some point, but well, the time on the clock was very low, and of course, my opponent had the chance to just flag me, and he tried his best, right, to do this. But okay. So how to improve white's play at some point? I do believe that after this sacrifice, black is doing all right. Maybe it was better to take with another piece on e6. I mean, to save the bishop on the board. That was also interesting. To take with the knight first. Then to take with another knight, attacking the queen. If the queen goes to d7, to do something like rook e1, it is a tempo move, right? So the bishop on c4 is not any, because there is a threat of knight c5 or knight c7, a lot of different threats, so I'm more or less forced to play something like bishop e7, and now white's attack looks devastating, so knight takes g7, because the light squared bishop is still on the board, and after king goes to, let's say, f8, bishop can occupy this e6 square, then bishop goes to h6, well, this looks very nice. If not, then the same, like in the game, I mean, knight e6, I can't go to g8, by the way. That is a big improvement. And after king e8, bishop goes to b3. And I prefer white, no questions. Just a typical Karo-Kannian position, like in the variation with knight d7, the main line. Deep blue Kasparov, I mean. Or Kasparov deep blue, I don't remember who is white, who is black. Yeah, so this sacrifice on e6. But here it looks like a much better version for white, right? But the light squared bishop is needed, okay? That is my point here. Bishop e6 is definitely not a move. After that, well, you still have the attack, no questions. But look, since light squares are not in danger, I can occupy them with the king. And this changes the stuff dramatically. So I'm out of danger, right? Right. Okay, let's continue. So somebody says, oh, come on. What do you mean, man? What do you mean? Anyways, let's continue to can crush you. Okay, let's see if you can. e4. Miktal says Andre must be sweating. Well, yeah, almost. Sicilian, and I'm playing with white. And probably it will be neither or dragon or what? Or classic Sicilian after knight c6. No, it's supposed to be neither after e5. Next move with black. So a3, you're waiting for this move, I know, but I'll keep playing what I prefer. Bishop c4, e6. Petro Stream says rook d6 and 1-0. What do you mean? At which moment, rook d6? Oh, you mean just not to sacrifice the rook in the very end? Yeah, that's true, but I also missed the possibility to checkmate immediately f1 at some point. So it was quite messy. Yeah, but technically, yeah, probably. If not rook g7, then probably black seems not to be in time to checkmate white. There is also another checkmate, by the way, knight f3 followed by something. Checking the king next move and so on. Okay. Bishop e7, castles. Castles. Bishop to e3. Okay, it's time to stop thinking of the previous game and focus on this one. By the way, it is a typical mistake. Psychological one, mainly. So when you play a lot of Blitz games in a row, and for example, one of the games was really interesting, or maybe you just lost a winning position, you just fail to focus on the next game, but you already play that, and you simply lose because of the lack of the focus. So yeah, it's necessary to stop thinking of that game. b6, so preparing bishop to b7. There are a lot of different things that can be played here. One of them is just f4, f5. Let's check f4, bishop b7, f5, e5. That goes away, knight takes e4. Then that goes to d5. This works pretty cool when opponent's queen is already on c7, but here we can see the queen is still on d8. So knight e5 won't be a tempo move, but maybe it's still good. I don't know. So let's see. With the knight on d5, I attack b6, then knight d7, and probably I'm just a pawn down, right? Yeah. So it makes sense for me just to prepare everything carefully. At the same time, f4 looks very tempting. I don't know what to play, what to choose. Let's play f4, come on. Well, with the queen on c7, this pattern should work. So, I mean, if bishop b7, then just f5. And after e5, knight goes away. And e4 pawn doesn't look like a hidden one because of knight d5. Yeah, I think white is doing very well right away. Miktal says a3 is the move in knight, or yes. Yeah. Oh. It's a sort of moves that you can afford making when you are already very, very cool player. When you can afford playing everything you want. Because you can fix the things later. Alright? But I don't think that a3 is really, really cool by itself. Knight c6. Well, to attack e6 now, or to take on c6 first? Well, I will just play f5, a programmatic move fighting for the long diagonal for the bishop. And I will take with the queen attacking b6. Why not? A tempo move, right? Which helps me to prepare for rook to d1, let's say. A sip of tea is needed badly. Not to fall asleep prior to playing the critical amount of games. Oh, rook to b8. Well. So now what? Black will definitely play something like e5 in the nearest future. In which case, my queen will probably go to d3. Or something like that. So maybe it makes sense for me already to change the position of the bishop on a2, because it looks a bit ugly here. So bishop b3 looks like more natural square. And I prepare for black's b5 mainly. So if black plays b5, I can take twice, and then my rook jumps to a7. So rook b8 was a protection of b6 pawn, but at the same time, it was a preparation of the b5. So bishop b3 is sort of prophylaxis here. Okay, e5. I think d3 position is just rock solid, protecting e4, and just kind of controlling a6. Now what? Now bishop g5 is just a typical idea to exchange this knight, but can I do this? Bishop g5, knight e4, knight e4, bishop e4. Queen takes e4, bishop takes g5. Well, looks not very good for me. At the same time, after bishop takes e4, I have queen g3, bishop g5, queen g5, and then f6 will be extremely annoying. It might be a dangerous attack, might be not. I'm not quite sure. But let's start with this move, which defines nothing at the moment. Black anyway doesn't have anything concrete. Yeah. So now let's put the rook on d1. Just preparing for the stuff. And now I think it should be good. I mean, bishop g5. Now let's try it now. Oh, well. This is what I wanted to achieve. But I have no time. Again, no time. Yep. To take or not to take? To take, but a bit later. That's my point. d6 is hanging now. Oh, what is that? Don't want to calculate anything. So yeah, let's just activate the king. White is of course strategically winning after this exchange on d5, so no questions. There is absolutely winning position. The question is, do I have enough time to convert it? I think there is a lot of time. Different moves. Black simply has no counterplay at all. Oops. What the hell? I've lost some time, come on. Oh god. Yes. Yeah, I should have lost the previous game in time and I've lost this one, but I thought that, well, I had just more time on the clock. How this happened? What the hell? It's absolutely winning, absolutely winning. Yeah, so probably my clock just, yeah, showed the wrong time. Maybe there is sort of lag because I don't have a great connection. I don't know what happened here, but of course white was absolutely winning. I didn't deserve to lose this game because, well, I completely outplayed my opponent. So definitely after bishop g5 move, the only chance for black was to take on e4. I'm not sure that it was good right at that moment. Let's see. So when I played bishop to g5, let's see this moment. I can't find it quickly. Yeah, bishop to g5. I mean, knight e4 here. Does it work or not? The point is that if I take on e4 with the knight, there is bishop e4, intermediate move, attacking my queen, and bishop on g5 is hanging. So I thought of something like queen g3, So that's creating this threat of f6. Bishop takes g5, queen takes g5, and now black has no time to play f6, so that I will play f6 myself. But maybe after knight e4, it's better for me just to start with bishop e7 here. I don't know. Because if queen takes e7, then I simply take on e4. If knight takes c3, then, well, I think I have this bishop d8 move, intermediate one. And then black is more or less forced to play queen c6 or something. Yeah. So I will be kind of extra rook, right? A rook up. Yeah, it should be also winning. So queen c6, attacking g2, queen g3 now. If rook d8, then I take on c3. If knight takes d1, then I have intermediate again, intermediate move. Bishop to f6 or f6, I don't know. Bishop to f6, queen g2, bishop g2 takes. Yeah, knight on d1 is hanging in the end of the variation. But maybe it's not that easy. So takes, king g2, knight e3 check here. Yeah, there is something. There is something. Yeah, this might be not very clear. Okay. But maybe I can just play f6 here. Should be also very nice. Yeah, just f6 followed by queen g3. Or taking on g7 looks also very promising. Or maybe just b takes c3 and after queen e7, f6. Also interesting. A lot of interesting possibilities. But maybe knight e4 was the last chance for black. At least to have some chances, because after h6, which was played well, white is just much better for nothing, for no compensation. Yeah, PT loss, but what can I do? So I should have played faster, right? That is only my fault. Okay, Kramnik student is the next challenger, so let's accept this challenge and continue. e4. So as far as I remember, we played closed games almost every time. When we met over the board here, now it's Ruy Lopez. Okay. Very good. b5 because e5 was already hanging. And we have the main tabia for years. And here there are a lot of options. I usually prefer playing this Smyslov system. h6 covers g5, so prevents this knight g5 and everything related to this stuff, so that rook can go to e8 if necessary. Okay, a4, probably trying to force me to play bishop b7, after which we have a transposition to Zaitsev's system. But I prefer playing this more solid bishop d7. Okay, knight to d2, so bishop to f8. Knight on c6 is already protected, right? So if knight goes to f1, probably I can play e takes d4 already, and then taking on e4. And d5 closes the stuff. Closes the center, so let's go to e7. Yeah, white plays very good. Now there are different plans. One of them, which is quite typical, is just to undermine d5 pawn with the c6. Another one is just to try to prepare f5 or something related to that. So g6 might be a move as well. c5 is also a move, so just provoking white to take en passant. So let's see what happens after, I don't know, c6 or c5. What is better? Let's try c5, closed position. Oh, g4. Well, it's probably a move, but I'm not sure that's just the greatest idea exactly here. So it's a typical Spanish idea. But my bishop is on d7, so maybe I can just, well, start playing for this pawn g4. Also, my knight is very close to f4 square. So maybe I can try just immediate knight g6, knight f4. This could be very interesting. Knight g6, knight g3, knight f4, takes, now goes to e2, then e4 drops. Yeah, knight g6 looks cool. So g4 is strange. It's a Kai for majority of Chigorin positions when the knight is not on e7 but on a5 somewhere. So when the knight is on a5, so black doesn't have this quick access to f4 square. Of course, weakening the f4 is a Kai for white. But here, well, I'm not sure that it was a good idea. So it's like going all in for white. Let's see. Oh well, bishop c2. So how to add something to the attack? Queen to c8 is kind of typical idea. But then a takes b5, a takes b5, and rook takes a8 deflecting me. So let's start with the rook b8. Also, just stopping the bishop on c1. Because if bishop goes somewhere, then b takes a4 should be considered. Right. And after this, I think knight f4 should be just in time. Because if bishop takes, I take on f4 with the tempo. Aha! And bishop takes g4. Is it a move? Should be very cool. Knight takes h3 also looks great. Let's try this. I'm not sure if it is good enough, but it looks very tempting not to play this move. 2 pawns already. And now I can just grab the third after knight h3. And then takes on f2. Maybe it was too much, right? I mean, all this stuff connected with taking on g4. It wasn't necessary, I mean, right? But okay. Let's grab the third pawn. And now, how to continue the attack? It should be quite quick, so maybe f5, knight takes f5. There is nothing. There is nothing there. g6, h5 looks a bit slow. Queen to d7 maybe. Yeah, queen to d7, let's play this. Oh, just take it. Thank you. That was a blunder, I guess. Yeah, this looks very cool now. So I have 3 pawns and the rook. And now I have something like this, attacking both knights. And then h5, h4 at some point. Also, a takes b5 opens up the a file. It's probably for my rook, not for white's one. So it should be winning somehow, I think. And let's take it on b5. There might be a problem with my queen at some point. Definitely not after knight f5. After knight f5, I'm okay. Yeah, very strange play with black here in this game. Very strange one. Knight g4, sorry, rook g4 is a threat. Queen f6 is not possible. Oh man, I have to play h5. Now I can't play Queen f6 because g5 is no longer controlled with the rook. And here I'm finally doing well. Yeah. I'm completely satisfied with the position. And with the situation on the clock. Okay, it's a very interesting game, very interesting game. I think g4 was not correct. g4 was a mistake. So instead of that, it's necessary to play something like knight g3, then knight from f3 goes away, and then at some point white plays f4. That is a typical plan for this pawn structure. So g4, no, not in this position. I mean, here it doesn't work. So knight g6 is, I do believe, one of possible ways to refute this g4. It is just the most natural one. I just go to f4 and at some point I just occupy it with the tempo like here. And well, this sacrifice on g4 was very tempting, but probably not necessary at all. So it was possible for me just to play something like g6 here, covering f5 and h5 squares, then bishop to g7 if necessary, just being prepared for bishop takes f4. Queen goes to c8, just preparing everything gradually. So Ruy Lopez is not the opening where the one has to just hurry up, right? It's necessary to prepare everything carefully. Moreover, we have a close position here, so there is definitely no need in the rush, right? So that was the way of playing, because this taking on g4 was kind of okay, beer Potter style, kind of okay. Why not to take, right? Because several checks and so on, but in fact it's not clear at all. So first of all, I think that queen e2 was possible, but queen d2 is also playable, okay? After queen d7, it was necessary not to play rook h1, it was a blunder, no questions, but to attack the knight f2 somehow. To play rook f1 or rook e2, maybe rook e2 was a correct move. Because after rook f1, I wanted to do what? To play knight to g4. That was my plan. So if king takes here, then knight e3 check. But, well, it's the same, like after rook e2, because king simply goes here, after knight f1, knight takes f1. So what has 3 minor pieces against the rook and 3 pawns. So position is far from being clear. I don't want to evaluate it. I'm not sure who is better here, because yes, white has definitely the material advantage in the sense of pieces present on the board. But black has very flexible and strong pawn structure, so long term it might be annoying for white to fight all these pawns. Yeah, so even this was possible. Yeah, rook f1 deserved serious attention. So I'm just not in time to save my knights here. That's the problem for this combination. So maybe this knight h3 was already a wrong move. Instead, it was necessary just to, well, to be satisfied with 2 pawns that compensate the sacrificed minor piece, more or less, and to try to develop the pieces, maybe to play, I don't know, queen to f6, right? Maybe g6, h5, maybe h5 immediately here, but I'm not sure what happens after bishop takes f4 and knight takes h5. There are a lot of possibilities, of course, and they are all far from being clear. That's why I think that this sacrifice on g4 was not correct. But rook h1, of course, yeah, was a blunder, after which black is much better. So here black has simply winning position, I think. So 3 pawns, too much, just too much, right? Okay, so let's continue. The next is Olaf 146. Accept. And I play with black. Do you play? No, not yet. d4, knight f6, knight f3. So what do we have here? Oh, I was pretty much sure that white will play something like bishop f4 or bishop g5 because it became so popular nowadays, but white plays just a normal queen's gambit. Oh, that's bad for me. That's bad for me, so let's try to make the things not that clear. What is that? It's like Tarish. Very strange appearance of Tarish, honestly. Bishop b5. Okay. Let's get rid of this bishop immediately. I do like bishops. All right, c6 is hanging. So, queen to c7 should be played more or less forced, I think. This move also fights white's d4 takes c5 if he wants to take my pawn there, because the knight on e5 is hanging. Okay, pawn c6 hanging again, so that's protected. Pawn on d5, thanks to God, protected with the knight f6. Yep, so I'm more or less ready for castling. I think I'm okay. Not a bad result of the opening where you do not have the knowledge at all. So f4, okay, I don't think it's very dangerous. I mean, if white comes up with this attack, g4, g5, without a light squared bishop, this attack can't be dangerous. It's just a rule of thumb. So I shouldn't be annoyed by this g4, g5. If it happens, of course. So instead, let's try to improve the power of light squared bishop, which is of course misplaced on b7. So I think position on a6 will be better. Oh, rook f3, white still plays for this attack, but I do believe there is no attack at all. Shouldn't be. Let's even provoke something, I don't know. Let's play g6, let's say. Just to see what white has. I think there is nothing, simply. If there is a bishop on this diagonal b1 h7, of course, this might be very dangerous. But without this bishop, I do believe there is no attack at all. That's my point. So now what? Now probably just bishop to c8. Willing to occupy f5 and then e4 a bit later, also controlling h3. Oh, and here knight e4 might be very good. Now let's try knight e4. Just a concrete move, because if knight takes, then pawn takes and bishop goes to h4. D takes e4, forces the rook to g3, and bishop h4 finally pins it. And wins the exchange for black. Yeah, very nice. Also not forced. I mean, bishop f5 was still a very good move for black. But why not to grab some material if it is possible, right? And if white doesn't take on e4, well, that's very good for me. What about just getting rid of this knight, first of all? Yeah. Now what? To improve the position of the bishop? Yeah, let's try it. Oh, very nice question. Did you watch the HBO series Westworld, Mr. Mostrovski? Yes, I did. And I think it is definitely one of the best series so far. So, what to play now? Oh, let's play h5. Let's just be cruel in the sense of grabbing the space. f5 maybe. Yeah, let's play f5. I don't know, I like my position now. Bishop takes. Pair of bishops. Okay, I'll just cover e5. Yeah, this position looks pretty cool. So I control the whole board. Rook on f3 is misplaced. There are a lot of weaknesses in white's camp. Okay, let's take with the pawn. And king h7. Protecting everything. At some point h4 might be a move, but not now. Okay. Now my point is just to get rid of the queen on this diagonal d1 h5, after which white won't have anything at all in a sense of counterplay, so that I will focus on trapping the rook g3 easily, just like this. So bishop e7 now, creating a concrete threat of queen somewhere on the d file, and now just h4, right? Yeah, h4 finishes the stuff of trapping the rook there. There are a lot of moves that lead to a win, but okay. Let's play this rook d3. Preparing doubling rooks over d file or something like that. Yeah, let's attack the bishop. Because it's not clear for me where the bishop goes. Now I have this move, it should be winning, right? And this guy is hanging. And after bishop d3, this rook can't do the harm. And yeah, black has simply the queen against the rook. So absolutely winning position. Okay, so it's not the reaction that should be against Irish defense. So if black plays like this, white has to take on d5. And to force black to create this isolated pawn or to take with the knight, which also leads to some concessions. Because if I take with the knight, then e4, this typical pattern with white's strong center, right? So black definitely has some counterplay, but usually this position is better for white. And if after cd5 black takes on d5 with the e6 pawn, then okay, sooner or later white will just grab on c5 and there will be an isolated pawn. So the best option is g3 in my opinion. So bishop g2, castles already exerting pressure on d5. And again, according to the modern theory, white is better everywhere there. So yeah, that is my recommendation, because if you don't create weaknesses in the opponent's position, well, you don't have a chance to win the game. And this cd5 was just a great chance to create the weakness already. Okay, let's continue. Duke Crusher is the next. Duke Crusher is the next challenger. So today, as you can see, I just play one by one. So sometimes I just pick up opponents randomly. Sometimes I just play from the very first challenger one by one until the time of the broadcast runs out. So, sorry those guys who won't have a chance to play today. Sometimes it happens. Bishop goes to d6. So again, just Duke decided to repeat the same what happened in the very first or second game today, right? The second game, I think he was. I don't remember. So, well, let's play. Takes on d4 instead of bishop g4, and I take with the queen. Yeah, bishop h2 is not possible because queen on d4 is protected. So, what black will do? Now g7 is hanging. Knight f6 leads to e5. f6 probably also leads to e5. Just breaking through and trying to play for the attack. And bishop g4. Wow. Queen takes g7 looks like a winning move. Just on the spot. Attacking the bishop and the rook on h8. What is going on? So let's see. Queen g7, bishop f3, queen h8, attacking the knight. g8. So what is there? Bishop h2, king h2, queen h4, king g1. Queen gets to g4. And protecting the knight g8 and attacking g2, I play g3, and there is something horrible after castling long, and then queen h3. Yes, this might be really annoying. So well, how to play this correctly? So maybe after queen g7 and bishop takes f3, I can play e5 first, preventing this bishop h2. Yeah, intermediate move. Black will have a lot of hanging pieces all around the board. And only then I will just take on h8. Yes, I think it works. Let's try it. So bishop f3, I just play e5 prior to taking on h8, so preventing this bishop h2 sacrifice. Yeah. Because queen h8 really could have been not very fun after bishop h2, for white I mean. At some variations, black can even sacrifice on g8 and then on a8, but the king will be checkmated with the queen and two bishops, having no protection at all. So that's white should have been very, very careful about that. That's why I played e5. And now I just take on e5 with check. What is going on? Yeah, that's it, I think. Now I can take on h8 next move with no problems. Or I can take on f3 having the extra minor piece. Yeah, that's it. So bishop g4 is a mistake. Of course, after queen d4, it's necessary to play f6. But to show these variations, which I calculated during the game, I will spend some time here. So queen g7, bishop takes f3, and if white takes on h8, just grabbing the rook, right? So bishop h2 could have been really annoying. But okay, I've missed queen e5 check later in the line. So it was also possible. I mean, king h2, queen h4, here, queen g4. During the calculation, I considered only g3 move and said that after castling, well, black is about to win the game. But here I have just simple queen e5 check first, and then queen goes to g3, protecting everything. So immediate queen g8, queen h8 was also possible. Okay, yeah, so this means bishop g4 is completely wrong. But still, this idea of sacrifice on h2 I think is very useful to remember, because this pattern happens sometimes in Ruy Lopez, especially in the exchanged variation. So it's necessary to know it and to be ready to meet it if it happens. Okay. So guys, okay, 2 games more, I think. And I will go preparing to sleep not very well. Sleeping well, I think, is just a dream for me for the next 2 years or something. So yeah, there are a lot of challengers. I know that a lot of guys just expected me to play them, but there is the guy, Don G, who said I was ignoring him. So just accept his challenge and play. Let's play, Don G. I'm not ignoring. I just don't have the time for all of the challengers. I think it should be understood. So Spanish thinks. So I think we will have the same main line, unless white deviates. Yeah, white plays d4 here. So it is also a popular choice. The question, your first child? Yes, my first child. That goes to d2. What? 2 main moves are d5 and bishop e3, but knight d2, really? So just sacrificing the pawn. So ed4, bishop d5, probably. Knight e5, ed5, knight goes to e5. No, it's alright for black. Okay, I will take this pawn. Let's see. An intermediate capture on c3, I think, wins a pawn for black. But here, or after bishop h5, I don't know if I want to occupy h5 square. Maybe I want just to go back to e6 or something. Takes on c3. Here or later, I don't know. d3, h takes g4. C takes d2, bishop takes d2. I might be experiencing some troubles along the c file then. Yeah, so maybe to start with bishop h5, and then after g4 to play d takes c3. In this case, at least, if white takes on h5, this pawn will be weak, right? Let's try. Yeah, interesting position. So g4, and now I think it's time to take on c3. this intermediate capture. Because if bishop g6, of course, white just recaptures on d4, and I think white is doing very well. Here I have an extra pawn, and well, maybe I underestimated the idea of bishop d5 after g5. I don't know. Interesting. Or maybe just a take on g4 now, but I don't have a feeling that it will be correct. It won't be correct, most likely. Yeah, let's play just normal move bishop g6. I don't think that sacrifice of g4 here makes sense. Yeah. And now, just d5? And d5 looks natural after bishop c2. Just to exchange one of the most dangerous pieces in white's position, a light squared bishop. Right? Yep. And now I think black should be much better. To take it or not? Well, let's just improve the position of the knight. One of a sudden, I don't know why, I remember the song. This is the river of the night. Oh yeah. It's too old, right? And knight f1 drops the knight on f3. I'll take it with pleasure. Yeah. Okay, so after d4 there are two main moves after black's reply bishop to g4. So they are d5 immediately close in the center, and then the main line goes knight a5, bishop c2, queen goes to c8, h3, bishop goes to d7, black plays c6, white takes on c6 and tries to use the whole on d5. Black tries to say that, okay, you have d5 square, but I have very good play on the queen side, just like in Nider, because the pawn structure will be very, very similar to Sicilian Nider. It is the first thing. And another thing that you also have a chance not to close the position after bishop g4. If you want more dynamic play, bishop e3 is the move. The point that I can't take on e4 in view of this bishop d5. That's the explanation. I mean, e4 is not hanging, and after bishop e3, d4 is protected, so that you have a chance to play knight d2. And, well, it is also a very interesting line for white. So, but I can't believe I didn't play h3, says Don G, which means that d4 was not intended, so it was just a confusion in the move order. But you should know that d4 is also playable, a very interesting variation, leads to very interesting play. Very interesting fight usually arises here. So I have good results with black against this system, but still, it's good. It's playable for white. That's the point. But knight d2, what you played simply drops the pawn, and well, I think the white still has a compensation, but I'm not sure it was a good idea to play this way. So ed4, h3, bishop h5. Again, not sure it was the best way to go away. Maybe taking on c3 was better. And after g4, once again, maybe bishop g6 was more accurate. I don't know, than undermining the center, because d3, b3, bishop g6. Well, g5 was something I was worrying about during the game, because now if knight goes away, then bishop goes to d5. Maybe nothing serious, but looks a bit annoying. Maybe it's not that dangerous. I mean, knight h5 is possible to attack g5 and to occupy f4 if necessary, if it's possible, I mean. But knight f1, just protecting g5 and controlling f4, and I don't know. I'm not sure that knight on h5 is placed good. Maybe it's wrong position. And if my knight goes to d7, let's say, then bishop d5 is a bit annoying. Yeah. So I don't think I lose the game. I lose the material somehow. I can even sacrifice the exchange if I want. I will still have a compensation, but it looks rather annoying, right? So, okay, never mind. So let's continue. Let's continue. And as I said, I wanted to play 2 more games. So 1 more now. And where is the challenge from Miktel? Yeah, here it is. Accept. So again, another guy I ignored, like many think I ignored last time. So let's improve. And c6, so Karo-Kann. Well, let's play Panov. Let's play Panov attack. What do you have against this line? e6, okay. So here we have sort of Queen's Gambit without pawns E and C. So I immediately have the isolated pawn, but probably it's not that bad. And yeah, here if I play a4, this weakens b4 square, so black will have this knight c6, knight b4 maneuver, then fighting for d5 square. So I usually prefer playing a3 in this sort of positions. Just to have bishop a2 and to cover b4 square, that's the point. Let's go away with the bishop immediately to a2. b5, well. Is d5 something here for white? So d5, e5, knight e5, well, might be nothing at all. So what to do instead? Just to focus on development, I think the best possible way of playing chess in general. So knight on d7 instead of c6. So usually the knight goes to c6 here, but knight on d7 here in this situation, well, could also make sense. So that will go to b6, then probably something connected with the knight d5. Do I have some tactics here immediately? Well, I don't think so. So queen d3 followed by rook d1 might be one idea. Another one is queen e2 followed by rook d1. So again, everything connected with preparing d5 at some point. So queen d3, knight c5 is something, or not. Queen e3 then, well, not sure. So let's occupy e2 square instead, just to prevent this knight c5, right? And now bishop takes e6 is interesting. So bishop e6, f takes e6, queen takes e6, rook goes to f7, then knight goes to e5. It all looks very, very similar to Kramnik-Kasparov, the second game of the match in 2000, right? Is it good right now? I'm not sure, but let's see. Bishop e6 takes e6, rook f7, knight e5, bishop d5. Knight takes d5, queen takes d5, and queen takes b6 there. Yeah, let's try it. I don't see a refutation. Oh, but bishop f3 is the refutation. My gosh. Yeah. It is just a sign that it's time to go and sleep, because I start blundering the things. Well, this one gives me the bishop, of course. I'm just 2 pawns up for nothing, absolutely. And bishop f3 after bishop e6 was just a move to refute everything. Okay, my opponent is very, very generous, so that I will probably win this game. if g takes f3 after bishop f3, I no longer have the knight to attack the rook if it goes to f7. That's the problem. So bishop f3 takes f3, then takes e6, queen e6, rook f7. I don't have knight e5. So bishop on e7 is protected. That's the idea. Yeah. Rook d5 was better, because if you have a chance to blockade opponent's pawn earlier, it's better to do that. Still not clear. What is the pawn endgame? I don't know. Takes several times, then goes with the king on f4, then king c4 might be a problem for me. So let's change the direction a bit. Check. Okay, it takes here. Oh, well. With this monster rooks, I should be very good. Probably b4 was better just to prevent all the things. Okay, now what to do? Now, what a stupid play. I mean, I played like a stupido. I don't have the time, I think, but yeah. To finish this game properly. Let's see. Yeah, my opponent was just generous enough from the very start to the very end, because in the end I just confused everything and gave my opponent a great counterplay. So first of all, here bishop e6, I think, well, bishop takes f3 stops everything, right? And if I take with the queen, you just take the bishop. If I take with the pawn, you still take the bishop. And the problem with that in the main line, here I have knight e5. Here there is no knight anymore. So bishop on e7 is simply protected. I have nothing but, well, a missing minor piece. So bishop f3 and, well, bishop e6 was a great blunder. Greatest I ever made, I think. Yeah. So definitely there was something similar to Kramnik Kasparov, but it was absolutely different, I believe. Yeah. So, okay. How to play instead? So bishop g5 is the extra move, so it's not necessary here. So if I want to play this line with the bishop quickly joining the diagonal b1 h7, I think it's better still to have the rook on e1, but then to be quick as possible with the queen d3 move or something like that. Bishop still can go on g5, but with the knight on d7, it's not that easy for me to occupy d3 later, so maybe it's better for me to play queen d3 as soon as possible, and then if knight d7, then already bishop to b1 or something. But I'm not a great expert of playing these positions, because I'm not the d4 player, and I definitely play really seldom this Panov attack against Karo-Kann. So I don't know which order of moves will be the most precise for both sides. So usually black manages to equalize here, but okay. So it was the first moment, and of course after queen e6, rook f7 was better than king h8. I just take the bishop on e7, right? So rook f7, knight e5, bishop d5, knight e5. That was what I calculated. Queen takes d5, and now I take on b6. But probably I missed something even here, because now I see that bishop d8, but bishop d8 doesn't trap the queen, right? So I have still squares on c6 and c5. So yeah, here I also have extra material, that's true. Yeah. So yeah, bishop f3 was necessary. Bishop f3 was necessary, and after that black is just winning. Bishop e6 is a stupid move. It was much better, of course, to play something like rook d1 here. And then after knight d5, which was planned, I think, something like knight to e5, just a typical normal position with isolated pawn. White tries to do something connected with the attack on the king side. Black tries to play positionally, and here, for example, rook c8 deserves serious attention. Just exerting pressure on white's position, and maybe being about of creating some weaknesses on c3. So taking on c3 and then taking on a3 looks a bit dubious because of white's possibility of taking on f7 maybe. So black should be careful here. So the knight on d5 is a very good idea, just to block my bishop and to prevent everything dangerous, at least for a while, connected with some sacrifices on the king side, and yeah, a quick attack or something like that. Okay, anyway, that was a very good session in my opinion. So I lost the game on time. There was a pity loss, but well, as I said, I would be really happy for, I don't know, scoring every half a point, because, you know, in my new circumstances, it's very hard to play good chess. And I'm happy that I managed to fight with you guys today. But your level as well increases. Well, not as well is not correct here, but your level simply increases from one show to another. You just managed to surprise me. That is very nice. Yeah, I do hope next Friday will be also very good, very interesting, entertaining, and instructive. That is my main goal, just to give you some information, some new information, mainly in decision making. So I try also to cover some really basic things about openings when it's necessary, but my main idea is just to give you the information about decision making process. That is my main goal here at Chess24 in general. And well, do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Do not forget to become a premium member and join the army of lovers of Training Tuesday. And your premium members are welcome to next Training Tuesday. We will discuss some interesting studies with a great tactical base. So there will be every study connected with series of tactical blows of different kinds, so it will be really interesting, I think, and still very instructive and useful. So take care, have a nice weekend, bye bye.